Hi, and welcome to The Regulated Mother. I'm your host, Afshan Tafler, nervous system resilience coach and mother of a hypersensitive, high needs child. If you're raising a differently wired kid with PDA, autism, OCD, ADHD, or big emotional needs, this is a space for you. Here we talk about what most people don't, how it really feels, how your nervous system responds, and how to find your way back to calm, courage, and connection, even on the hardest days. You're not alone. Let's begin. You know those moments when your child does something, like they start swearing at you or swearing to somebody in public, or they're hurting their sibling, or they're destroying property, and you try to stay calm, right? But then your system becomes overwhelmed, and before you know it, you're yelling or you're saying, stop it, or you're trying to control them, only for it to lead to a worsening of their behavior. And then you feel like you have no idea how to handle this child and these situations. So if you've been there, I understand. I've been there too. And this episode is for you because today I'm going to talk about what the nervous system really needs in those moments, okay, and how understanding that can really help change the way you handle the situation and really move you from reacting in those situations to instead feeling more calm and in control, like you know how to handle it. And that's what we all want, right? Okay. So let's take this time where I'll give you an example of when my child would swear at me during meltdowns, and he would also swear in public, right? Like if we were in the backyard, he would start swearing at a neighbor. But I'm going to take the situation of he's swearing at me and he's saying things like, I hate you, you're an idiot, F you, right? So who wouldn't start to react to that? Okay, I know that all the mothers I work with have a reaction when their kids start saying all these mean things to them. So, what would happen to my nervous system? My chest would tighten, my jaw would clench, my heart would pound. I would feel this energy rising and mobilizing to do something, right? Stop him from acting like this. This is not appropriate, right? I would try to stay calm, only to be then taken over by my reactions and start yelling at him or threatening him if he didn't stop. Okay, this is especially true if we were in public. That was the harder situation, right? So at the time, though, and this is important to note because at the time I truly felt like I had no choice but to resort to these ways of authoritarian ways, really, of trying to control my child and get him to stop. I was in survival mode and I didn't know another way to feel safe in those moments. But then none of it worked, right? Trying to control him and the situation just made it all worse. It escalated his behaviors and then left me stuck feeling this shame and resentment and despair and felt like I was failing as a mother. So, what I really learned later about the nervous system is what helped me to change the way that I handle these situations. And the learning is that the nervous system really needs three things to feel safe. Okay. It needs context, it needs choice, and it needs connection. Okay. So if you can bring in these three things, context, choice, and connection, then it can really help your body move out of that fight, flight, freeze in these intense moments, right? Into a state of more regulation and presence and feeling like, okay, I feel confident, like I know how to handle this situation. And we all want to feel that way, right? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how you can learn to bring in these three things, context, choice, and connection for yourself first in those moments and in everyday life, okay? Because it is only when you're regulated then you can offer this regulation to your child, and then you can bring it in context, choice, and connection for your child too. Okay, so let's take this example I've been talking about. When to look at context, right? My child is swearing at me. He's saying shouting, I hate you, and calling me names. And so imagine yourself, right, in the situation. I'm sure you can. I'm sure most of you have been there. Or imagine another behavior, right? And in this situation, what happens to most of us, right, is we lose context. The reaction bubbling inside of us just takes over. And when you're having a reaction in the present moment, 90% of that reaction is actually informed by things buried in your nervous system from the past, and only 10% has to do with what's actually happening in the present. So we lose context, right? We lose context of what this moment is really about. And instead, our survival system takes over, and we feel this panic, this anger, this rage, or the shame underneath, right? Especially if others are watching our child engage in this behavior, people we don't know and are not safe others, right? And then all these beliefs about how your child should, be more respectful to you or be more kind to others, or, should not be talking this way in front of their siblings, and teaching their siblings then this way of talking. Like all of that gets triggered, right? And then there this desperation that I need to do something, I need to stop this, right? So when we bring in context, we bring in the who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay. And we lose that. Remember, we lose that when we're in reaction. The who, what, when, where, why, how is not there in the present. It's all about some feeling inside of you from the past getting triggered. So we lose context. But if we can bring in context in the moment, so things like, okay, this is expected. This makes sense, right? I know what's happening and I know what to do. If you can bring in this feeling of, oh, this is expected, my child is in fight flight, something has triggered them, they're not feeling safe, and this is why they're swearing right now or doing that behavior. And so if they're not feeling safe, then this behavior is expected. So when the nervous system feels like something is expected, then it feels more ready for it, right? If it feels like it's unexpected and you're in shock or you're in like, why is this happening? Then you're going to, trigger that context to be gone, essentially. So what you want to do is bring in context. And this helps to remind your nervous system that what is happening here in front of me is expected. It's not a personal attack, right? This is a stress response happening in my child. I know what's happening here. Okay, so examples of this are, okay, I know my child is in a PDA meltdown, right? This is a panic attack. It's not like malevolent rage that's happening, and my child is doing this on purpose, right? This is a meltdown, a PDA meltdown. um, another example is I know that his nervous system is trying to protect him from the overwhelm or the fear that he's feeling inside, right? And I know what I need to do in these moments, right? Whether it's staying silent, whether it's about ensuring safety for another sibling, or whether it's like just, not engaging, right? Staying silent and not engaging. And so, why does context help, right? It really helps because it helps you to understand, I know what's happening, I know this is expected, and I know what to do. And so then your higher thinking brain helps to downgrade your survival system and helps your survival system that's reacting underneath to feel like, okay, this is not personal, right? And then this helps to reduce the fear and reactivity, right? By giving your brain this map of understanding the who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay. So what helps me, what I do to activate context in the moments is I say to myself, this is expected, right? So I feel the reaction bubbling up inside me. And I say to myself, okay, I feel your reaction and this is expected. Of course, you feel this way towards him swearing. And of course, you feel this way, especially if the swearing is in public, right? So, of course, this is expected. I start to be with my survival system and say, okay, it makes sense that this reaction is happening inside of me. And it makes sense that my son is reacting in this way, right? This is expected. This makes sense. And I'm going to stay quiet for now because I know that that is the best option for my son. I let him ride the wave and he comes down, and then we do repair and we work through it afterwards. And he's always sorry after the fact. But I don't challenge him in those moments. I don't try to have a teaching moment. I know exactly that what I need to do is to ride the wave. So so this is the key to building for yourself, because if you can feel like this is expected, then you won't go into this reactionary fight, flight, freeze so much, and you'll be able to, even if that reaction's happening inside, you'll be able to contain it and to help it downgrade to feeling more safe. Okay. So next is choice. Okay. So in moments like this, it often feels like we have no choice, right? Your survival system is reacting, and sometimes it feels like, well, I cannot fight my child and I cannot flee my child. So my only option is to freeze, right? So a lot of the reaction that we take in this moment comes from past conditioning and how we've learned to, I guess the mind map, right, of how we've learned that parents should be with their kids, which is parents should control their kids, right? And we take in all of this this meaning, okay, of how we should be as a parent. And so in these moments, sometimes you feel like you can't fight and you can't flee. So then you immediately freeze and you try to stay calm. But then it gets hard to hold that for so long. And then sometimes the only choice can feel like, I need to get control of my kid now. So you bounce back into fight, flight, or into fight, right? And you get angry at them and you try to take control. Or if they're young and you can, grab them or do something for the situation, then you end up doing that, right? So the key in these moments, okay, is to make yourself feel like you have choice. Not that you're trapped and have no choice, but that you do have choice and that you can bring conscious choice into that moment so that you can feel more power and feel more agency and confidence to choose something that you know can help. Okay, so your power lies in choosing on purpose, even if the situation is still hard or messy. So, examples of conscious choice can be, I choose to help this activation inside me first. So, if there's no like safety thing to attend to, then what I do is I just stay quiet and help myself inside with this reaction that's bubbling up. Okay, that's my choice, right? And then I feel more agency and power. I'm choosing to help myself right now. Okay, or I do that, and then I choose to stay quiet and not engage with my son's behavior. So that's often what is needed in these situations with him. So I'm choosing to stay quiet. I'm not staying quiet and doing nothing because I'm frozen and I'm trapped and I feel like I have no choice but to do that because I don't want to activate him more. I'm choosing because I know that that's the best approach. Okay, so there's a difference in that. So it's important to see that because oftentimes we freeze and feel like we have no choice but to stay quiet, but you want to feel agency and power in what you're doing, that you feel like you're making that choice, right? To stay quiet because that's the best option. You sometimes the choice is messy. You have to choose to keep a sibling safe and you choose to remove the sibling, right? Even though you know that that's going to activate your child who's engaging in the behavior of hurting the sibling, you know that's going to activate them even more and may create even more of a messy situation. But to know that, okay, there, sometimes it's not, the choice sometimes the choice is not going to lead to the most calm outcome. And can that be okay too, right? You have to choose to hold a boundary, same thing, right? You're choosing to hold a boundary to protect your own regulation, right? Or to protect your children, um, or to protect, property, right? You have to put that boundary in place, and that's going to activate your child. But can you feel like, oh, instead of feeling I have no choice but to do this, which then leaves you feeling like trapped inside, right? Going into more of a freeze. Instead, knowing that, okay, I've chosen this and there isn't any good option here, but this is the best of the two, and that's okay, right? So even that little shift can help you feel like you're in your agency and your power. And that's really important in these situations because sometimes the choice we make is not going to lead to everything being calm and happy for everyone. And that's okay too. Okay, so the big reframe here is really that the choice is not about changing your child's behavior, right? It's about supporting what needs to be done to help the overall situation in the storm. The choice is to help yourself. The choice is to pick the make the best choice to help the situation, even if it doesn't lead to total calm right away. Okay, and why this helps is because when you have options, even small ones, it builds a sense of agency and it builds a sense of confidence in yourself. It builds a sense of calm in yourself that, okay, I know how to handle this. I know what to do and I can be okay, right? So just like our kids need so much autonomy and they need to have choices, so do we, especially in these heated moments, and we can give those to ourselves. Okay. So sometimes the choices I'm choosing, not I'm not choosing to fix this, right? I'm choosing to not fix this. And instead I'm choosing to care for myself in the middle of it. And from that place can I then help my child. Okay, now the third thing the nervous system needs to feel safe is connection. Okay. Now, what usually happens is for those of us, we have this reaction mounting inside, we clamp down on it, and we rush to connect to our child. But if we're highly activated inside and we're bringing freeze to that instead of regulation to that, then our children can feel that and they won't resonate with our nervous system's calm because it's not really there, right? This is like a behavior you're recruiting, but there's that you're freezing down on the activation underneath. So the connection won't really be real. It'll be more frantic or forced, and it can have an agenda behind it, right? This agenda is, I just want to get this child to calm down. And so I'm going to be like connecting with them. And well, they will feel that. Their nervous system can see right through that, just like your nervous system could see right through that with somebody else. And so the key is that you want to be able to connect first with yourself. Okay. So that's really when our own nervous system, right? We need to feel choice, right? We need to feel context, we need to feel choice, and then we need to feel like we're connected. When you are triggered in the present moment, again, you lose connection with yourself, right? So your true self kind of is gone and your survival system takes over. So you lose connection with yourself. So you want to bring that connection back with who you truly are, which is the awareness, right, of this reaction happening inside of you. And you're the awareness of the scared, your awareness of the anger, the ashamed feeling, or the overwhelmed feeling. And when you can do that, then you can start to regulate your system with this connection with yourself, right? So, how do I often do it? I feel the anger bubbling up, right? And I place a hand on my chest or I place a hand on my belly. I breathe. Okay. I feel the sensations of my hand there. I breathe and I speak to it. I see you. I hear you. This makes sense that you're angry at what our child is doing. Makes sense you feel this way. and you're not alone. Okay. So whatever works, whatever words work for you in that moment, but also bringing in the body of this felt sense of connection with yourself. So hands on chest and stomach can help. Giving yourself a hug, containment can help. So anything that helps you bring back that connection to yourself instead of being out of body and taken over by the reaction. Okay. And sometimes it's connecting with that angry energy that wants to do something, but you're holding it back because you obviously don't want to hurt your child. And it's being with that energy and finding safe ways to release it in that moment, right? So connecting to that energy and allowing it to release. And then that helps bring your ventral vagal system online, right? The system of safety and connection and calm to help downgrade that reaction that's happening inside of you and help you have more clarity and creativity and confidence of how to handle this challenge with your kid. So as you connect to yourself and calm your own system, you may choose to say nothing to your child in that moment. And sometimes it's best not to make eye contact. Like that's the case for me. I look sort of a little bit away and I look down and I give my child space. So I don't give the behavior much attention and because I know he's really activated. So I just give him space to keep going. But I feel this, my heart's open and I'm here. I'm here with you. Um, and that helps him. He feels that energy. So I often imagine love from my heart going to his heart in those moments. Okay. And I I show this energy of I'm present here, I'm steady, and I trust that you'll move through this, right? So I'm giving that connection to myself and then bringing that energy of connection to him because I know nervous system to nervous system, he will read that and then eventually come down. And that's what works for us. So then I become the anchor, right? And this is what can happen for you when you can connect to yourself, come back to your true self. You become the anchor for their nervous system to come back to their true self and become more regulated in that moment. Okay, so those are the three things, right? Context, choice, and connection. So once I started to bring in these things, context, choice, and connection, for me, I really felt less helpless in the moments. So I felt like I didn't need to yell or collapse or fix everything. And I started to feel more creative because I was in my true self and feel more steady, right? And feel like, okay, I can handle this. I was more the parent that I wanted to be in these situations, even if things were still hard, right? I felt like I could help myself and then help my child. And I could meet his behaviors with more presence, right? Instead of that panic and anger. So bringing in context, choice, and connection is really important, right, for you to be able to handle these challenges differently. So I invite you to start to do that. So how can you bring in context? And maybe you can journal for yourself because journaling helped me like to write it out and just to see it more clearly. So how can you bring in context? How can you let yourself know that what is happening in these moments is expected and that you know exactly what to do, right? That can help lead to you feeling more calm and can help lead to your child feeling more calm. And you want to make this predictable. The more predictable you make it, the more your nervous system will feel safe. Okay. And then this brings in that feeling of more clarity, right? And confidence that you can handle the situation because you know what's expected, you know how to downgrade your reaction, and then you know how to be there for your child. Okay. So that's context. Now, with choice, how can you bring in more choice, right? What choices can you give yourself even when things feel out of control? So, how can you help yourself feel like even staying quiet and doing nothing is a good enough choice, right? Or that helping yourself first in those moments is a good choice. So the key here is to always help yourself feel like you have choice and agency so you don't drop to feeling powerless and trapped. Because that's where a lot of us end up going because we feel like we have no choice, right? So bring in that element of choice. What are the choices I have? Even if that choice is to help myself or just stay quiet and do nothing for now. And then connection. How can you start to be with that reaction happening inside of you? And how can you bring connection to yourself in these moments, right? And bring in your true self, right? And because when you're back in your true self, then this helps for your child to resonate with your true self energy and help them come back to their true self. Okay, so what I used to do every day was I used to picture the moment with my child that I had trouble with, his behavior, and then I would reimagine it, bring it and bring in context, choice, and connection. And I would imagine how it would look by me bringing in context, what I would say to myself, me bringing in choice, what I was choosing to do, me feeling connection to myself, helping myself inside, and then staying connected energetically with my son, right? And I let myself feel that possibility and give my brain a chance to experience that. So give my brain and nervous system a chance to take that in so that I could have an experience of that outside of the heated moments, and then I started bringing it into the heated moments. And this really helped me. So I invite you to give it a try too. So if this episode spoke to you, please do share it with others. Please do send me a message as well. I will, I invite you to send me a message. I'd love to hear what landed for you. And I want you to know that this is a very challenging experience parenting our hypersensitive high needs child. So what I want you to know is that you're not alone in this, right? We are all learning to co-regulate ourselves one moment at a time so that we can co-regulate our children. So remember that even in the storm, you still have the power to return to yourself. And that's really where the healing begins. So I invite you to bring in context, choice, and connection so that you can return to yourself and bring your true self to your child. Thanks so much for listening to The Regulated Mother. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen, grounded, or hopeful, I'd love for you to share it with another mom who might need it too. And if you want more nervous system tools and support, head to my website, illuminateyou.ca, to grab my free ebook and video series. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing brave and meaningful work.